for Arsenal, it was so nearly extremely nervy for them because they went down to 10 men in that game. And I think if you cut a montage of all the commentators who were working on that game around the world, the tone of surprise in their voice when that was given as a red card sort of tells its own story there, although PGMOL have said that they support the decision.
Of course they will. You know what I mean? We're talking about an organisation who, for me, it's a dangerous mix. You know what I was going to say, Kels, with this? When that happened, Kels, I said, that's a good yellow to take, you know what I mean? Because when you look at it, he's gone in sideways. It's cynical, right? It's cynical. He's gone in sideways, and yes, his boot is caught there. That, for me, is a yellow card. I couldn't understand it. Like you said, in unison, all the commentators around the world went, what? Oh, he's been sent off. People thought that he got a yellow before. Right now, if he got a yellow before, you probably wouldn't be able to argue. But for that to be a red card is absolutely ludicrous.
And it's definitely worth talking about. Before we do that, though, it's also worth reflecting on what PGMOL have said, because Michael Oliver has been subject to some really awful online abuse, and PGMOL have spoken out in support of that, saying they're appalled by the threats and abuse. No official should be subject to any form of abuse, let alone the abhorrent attacks aimed at Michael and his family over the past 24 hours. They've put the police in touch with that. They are investigating it. Of course, the support for Michael Oliver, and as they say, sadly, it's not the first time a match official has been forced to deal with threats in recent times. This is not about a personal attack on Michael Oliver, but and we would unilaterally condemn any kind of abuse, let alone the kind of abuse that him and his family have been getting for that. But that doesn't mean that we can't look at the decision.
Thank you, and that's where it's come from. What we've seen here is a referee that's made the kind of mistake that people have gone, no, especially with Arsenal. Arsenal fans have got every right to feel, why are we still getting Michael Oliver on our games? There's 8 sending-offs that Arsenal have had, and a couple of them you have to think to yourself, probably will never see those sending-offs again.
You can't talk about conspiracy.
You can't go down that route about
No.
Let
me finish. The fact is, why can't you go down that route? It's their facts for everyone to see.
On that
you know what? He's had 47 games to see. He's not sent off one player.
How many of those Arsenal red cards were red cards?
Yeah, but the thing is that.
But that's relevant because you can look at the Lewis.
I don't think
Lewis Skelly and you can say right, fine.
I think you go back to Martinelli against Wolves. He got booked in the same incident.
But again, that was the two yellows, was it?
You look at Declan Rice's one. You look at Saliba's one.
But they were all by the letter of the law, correct?
What I'd say about this game, though, is when you look specifically at this game, because that point there is a point that I think a lot of Arsenal fan base will really home into. But if you look at the game itself, you look at the Gomez decision, you look at the Lewis Skelly decision, and it's like even in the same game, we're not having any parity in anything that's going on. And I think that is the major issue. And we can talk about, the technology that's been brought in. There is an issue with officiating, and I think it's been brewing for so long now that there's just this real resentment towards everything that happens. We've seen...
Do you think there's less understanding because there is the assistance of VAR now? Do you think that we're less likely to say, do you know what, the ref either hasn't seen it or hasn't seen it properly, or he's missed it, or he's made a...
But this is the issue.
So now,
so a wise man once said that
gone.
VAR is like CCTV. It's like, it's black and white, it just tells you what happened. So when you go to it and you see it and it's like, well, why is this the decision? And then it becomes, it's the letter of the law. And I think that phrasing and how it's utilised, and I think it rinds people up the wrong way. We've seen that sort of challenge happen in the Premier League since its inception. We know what a tactical foul is.
Cynical tactical foul.
We see loads of tactical fouls not receive yellow cards. We definitely don't see them get red cards, especially if you're not in a yellow. So I think it's very confusing for people, and I think in many ways we're very fortunate that Arsenal did get the result, because if they didn't, the ramifications for the league, this conversation would have...
The only thing I would say in Michael Oliver's support is we are all human, he's a human being, he makes mistakes. But the VAR, as you rightly says, it's black and white, sees it and goes, Michael, just hang on a second, you might want to take another look at it. It's such a big moment, it's the first half, Arsenal are away from home, this is a key moment of the game. Just take yourself 30 seconds across to the screen, and if you're still happy with the decision, if you still think it's a red, then he goes off. So I think VAR should step up to the plate on Saturday. They didn't.
They have to believe that it's a big enough incident, that
the other thing, Kelly, is
a big enough mistake to send them.
Because Michael Oliver's regarded, and Wright might disagree, as one of the best referees in the Premier League. the guy in VR, I'm not sure who was in VR the weekend. Darren England might be like, well, I can't tell Michael Oliver he's got that wrong.
Well, then they've got the wrong people.
But then he should be strong enough to say, you know, just have a quick look.
We don't know that was the case. But I think, do any of the three of you think that was a red card?
No. No, it wasn't. It was a yellow card. And when he done it, Kels, as he done it, I said, good yellow. Take one for the team.
Yeah.
So when he went off again, I said it's not gonna make any difference because there will be no accountability for it. They'll twist it with the words that they use, the PGMOL, and say, well, it's the letter of the law, and then you have to take it again. But when it happens as often as it happens with Arsenal and the fans, you can understand. Of course, they're going to feel aggrieved by it. They're going to feel like, why is it always us, and why are we still getting this guy on our games?
But every set of fans, if you go online and look on any forum, on any platform, any social media platform, every set of fans thinks it's just us. We are worse hit by decisions than any other team in the Premier League.
Let me check this one.
Yeah, who's the ref?
It's got a time code on it.
And they've all got one or two refs that think absolutely hate them.
Don't want him.
Yeah.
But we know that the thing is the accountability, Kels. Like even with me, I'm just critiquing that decision. I cannot understand how he sent him off for that.
I understand the accountability, but I think for me, what probably is worse for fans or just anyone is how the letter of law justification is then used to support it. So if in this situation it's the studs above the ankle, if you say that out of context, of course you're going to say, well, if your stud's above the ankle,
he's probably done him, yeah.
But if you look at the context of what football is, and I think that's why it's so dangerous. We're watching football. It's not. You have to look at what you're watching, and that's why the VAR has to step in and say, well, listen, like you said, it's the first half. Look at the game. Look what happened. You shouldn't really give a red card for that.
And that's not quite what the conversation was between the referee and the video assistant referee on the day either. So that wasn't something that was discussed at the time.
I think it's worrying that all three of them came to that conclusion for that particular foul when you can watch it back. I know what you said as well when we were talking, Shay, to slow it down. Maybe they shouldn't slow it down so much because, you know, it looks even worse. But when you slow that down, it doesn't look like, he's trying to do him to stop him. He's trying to trip him up. You know, I mean, that's a yellow card. Someone should have said to have a look at it, and I can't believe that ended up a red. I cannot believe it.
But as you said, it helps a little bit that Arsenal managed to go on and take all 3 points anyway in the game with Ricardo Calafiori's goal.
Well, yeah, it was a very good goal and a goal that was needed because if I'm going to be totally honest, Kels, with everything that's gone on, I'm quite pleased that Arsenal won because what we're seeing obviously is unacceptable. But if Arsenal lose that game, gosh, I can't even imagine what it would be like, the discourse, because, you know, I think that they are so against this referee that honestly, it's crazy now.
I think
But it's important when you're in a position of authority and you're listened to by Arsenal fans, and your opinion carries a lot of weight with them. That this doesn't become a personal vendetta, because then that leads to.
And I'm critiquing him on the facts what I've got on him.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is that when it then leads to the abuse.
No, the fans can see it as well. But I'm not going to sit here, Kels, and not recognise certain things that feel a little bit. Well, that is really harsh. I'm still an Arsenal fan as well, but I'm on here and I know what you're saying. Well, I've got a responsibility. I'm just critiquing the man's decision.
What I would say to this though is, I think we've come to a point, especially within the Premier League, where there needs to be some sort of review of what's going on, because I don't think a match weekend happens where we're not talking about contentious decisions. I mean, we saw in another game where a player's booked off for eliciting from the fans within the celebration that we've seen constantly done before. So something is going wrong, and referees hold such a key and pivotal part to our sport. They should be respected, they should be protected. But we need to understand what is happening, because clearly something isn't right at the moment. I don't think there's a time where I come on the show and we don't speak about refereeing decision. So something needs to be addressed there.
Yeah, and there's a difference between looking at something like this, which genuinely has everybody slightly baffled. I would say the vast majority of people have been kind of quite baffled by this decision, and coming on and talking about disagreements in terms of the interpretation of the rules, which are the laws, which is a more natural football conversation. I think that there's a slight difference in all of that. But as you said, Arsenal down to 10 men, and Wolves later on down to 10 men as well when Gomez was sent off. Arsenal managed to take all 3 points. And as you said, Arsenal feeling like they're a bit up against it as well in terms of injuries and players that aren't available. The other team who are really suffering, well, one of the other teams who are suffering really badly from injuries is Bournemouth, who've got 11 players out injured. But it was just such an incredible moment.